Hey Algebra 1, here's the review for tomorrow's quiz. Okay, remember this is just like what we went over in class. It's the same thing. I'm just going to go over everything step by step. Okay, first of all, the first one you're going to need to find figure 0 and figure 4. Now remember, we want to recognize what part of the graphs or what part of these pictures are the same. Here I see that these two blocks are the same for every picture. So I know for sure that every one of these pictures is going to have that. So I can just draw that in. Now I'll highlight that blue just to show that, hey, that's going to be the same on every single one of these. Now the next thing I see is that for figure 1, there's one block, extra block. Figure 2, there's a 2 by 2. Figure 3, I'll write that in. Figure 3, it's 3 by 3. So you can see that it goes along with the figure number. If it's figure 3, it's going to be a 3 by 3. If it's figure 4, then that means we should have a figure 4 by 4. Just like that. Now the first one, we're not sure if it has more blocks than that. What we can do is just count and see what the pattern is from figure to figure. So for this first one, it's 3, then it goes to 6, then it goes to 11. So let's look at the pattern. Okay, so from 3 to 6, it's plus 3. From 6 to 11, it's plus 5. So you can see it's a change of 2. So that means the next change will be plus 7. And if it's the odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, that must mean the first one was plus 1. And what number plus 1 equals 3? Well, that would just be 2. Okay, so that is right. So it is just 2 blocks for that first one. So then we're going to go ahead and just fill in the table. Figure 0 was 2. Figure 1 is 3. Figure 2 is 6. Figure 3 is 11. Figure 4, well, we count that out, that's 18. So that's 18. And then let's figure out what's next, because we didn't make that picture. Well, I know that from here to here it's plus 3. Here to here, plus 5. Here to here, plus 7. So that means from here to here, it's plus 9. So that means that 18 plus 9, that's going to be 27 for the last one. Okay? Okay, so now what we want to do is you're going to create a function that models the pattern above. Well, the first thing I think I want to do is I'm going to go to D. And on the quiz, I'm going to tell you to start with D and then go to C. Okay? So first let's draw a sketch of figure 100 and figure out how many tiles, the number of tiles, is in figure 100. So first let's draw it. Now going back up here, I remember that each of these figures all had the 2 boxes. So that means this figure 100 should have that same 2 boxes. And again, I'll highlight that blue, just so we don't forget it. Okay, now, if you notice that figure 2, the dimensions of that square were 2 by 2 because it's figure 2. And then figure 3 was 3 by 3 because it's figure 3. And figure 4 was 4 by 4 because it's figure 4. So that means that this figure is going to have a lot, first of all, it's going to have a lot of squares. We don't really know how many, or I can't really draw it. And I know that it's going to be 100 by 100 because it's figure 100. And then how do we get the total? Well, the total is 100 times 100. Okay? So that 100 times 100, that's this area. But then don't forget, we also have those 2 blocks, so then we have to add 2. So 100 times 100 is 10,000. Then add 2, and we get 10,002 tiles. And that will help us figure out the function. Okay, remember, every function has to start with either f of x or y. I'm going to use f of x. Now, we knew that this was 100 because the figure number is how wide and how long this square is. So let's call the figure number x. And so instead of 100, we could say x here, and we could say x up here. And to get the total, it was 100 times 100 plus 2. So for an equation, it would be x times x, and then we add 2. But then let's simplify that, because x times x is x squared, and then plus 2. And again, remember, we had the plus 2 here, that 2 here, the 2 here. Those are those 2 blocks that we had in each picture. And here's that 2 again, and here again. Okay, so again, our function is f of x equals x squared plus 2. Okay, now the next one. So now we're just looking at this graph here. And we're going to basically circle all the statements that are true. So you're going to circle all the answers that are applicable or the ones that are true. So here it says I have no maximum value. Well, you can see that this graph is pointing down. So it does have a max. It has a point of a top. Okay, and our max is right there. So that is not true. We do have a max. Okay, I have a line of symmetry at x equals 0. Remember, the line of symmetry is that line, that vertical line that goes straight down the center of the graph, or the middle. And that line goes through x equals 0. And it says I have a line of symmetry at x equals 0. So yes, that's true. I'll circle it. In the next one, I have a domain of all real numbers. Remember, we need to say to ourselves, does it go forever and ever to the left? Yes. Does it go forever and ever to the right? Yes. So the domain is all real numbers. So that is true. Okay? Next question, I have 2 x-intercepts. Okay, that means I have 2 points where I cross the x-axis. And it does, here and here. It has 2 points, one right there, one right there. So, oops. So our x-intercept there, and x-intercept there. So yes, I do have 2 x-intercepts. I have a range of y is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, well, let's find the range. So first we say, remember for domain we go left and right, and then range we go bottom to the top. Okay, so first I say, does it go down forever and ever? Yes, it goes down forever and ever. Does it go up forever and ever? No, it stops here at this point. And what is that point? It's 2. So that means y is less than, because it's pointing down, less than or equal to 2. And let's see what it says here. Well, the statement says y is greater than or equal to 2, so that is not correct, because it is actually less than. So remember, it says I have one y-intercept, and the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, so that would be right here, and it only crosses it there at one point. So yes, it does have a y-intercept, or one y-intercept. I have a maximum value of 2. Well, again, the maximum is the top up here, and that's at y equals 2, or that's at the value of 2. So yes, it does have a max of 2. I am a function. Remember, as we move a line across the graph, if that line touches it in more than one place as I move across, then it's not a function. But as I move across, it doesn't touch it in more than one place. So we're good. It is a function. And then I have a vertex of 0 to -2. Well, let's see where it's at. Well, we know the vertex is right there in the middle. And at that point, it's at 0, and it's above the x-axis, so the y value is 2. Positive 2, not negative 2. So this is incorrect. That is not true. And the last thing is, I'm a parabola. Yes, it is. If you see a U shape, it is a parabola. Okay, now let's go to the next page. Okay, so this one, we're going to have to graph it. And remember, you want to use your calculator to graph this. Okay, so just like I showed you in class, quickly go through and plug in these points. I'll write it out how it should look like in the calculator. In fact, here, what I'll do is I'll pull up a calculator online. And let's see, let's do calculator. Sorry, Ahmed. Got you on remind.com there. All right, so it says, actually, let's do this calculator. I'm going to do this calculator here at the bottom, the 2.0 scientific calculator. It's a little easier to use. It's the one, kind of like the one we have in class. Okay, now remember, it said negative, it had a minus in front of the parentheses. And then here, we're going to plug in this -1. So it's negative times that number squared. -1 squared. And you can see, you can look up here and see that you're doing it correctly. Then that is going to be added to 4 times the number. So now 4 times -1. And then after that, you're going to add, oh, that's right, I changed this in class. Not 2, but 5. Add to 5. Okay, and so that's how you enter in your calculator. My first value will be 0, and I want you guys to do the rest. So fill in the table. So pause here. Once you fill in the table, then you can click back and play. So now once you've graphed it, or I'm sorry, once you've plotted all these points, now we can graph it. So now I have first point will be -1 and 0. Then I have 0 and 5, so 0 is in the middle. Then I go up 5. Next point is 1 and 8, so right 1, up 8. Next point is 2, 9, so right 2, up 9. Then the next point is 3, 8, so right 3, up 8. And the next point is 4, 5, so right 4, up 5. And then the last point is 5, 0, so right 5, and then it's 0, so we don't go anywhere. And then we make our U. Oops, that's a bad line. Let's do that one again. It's a little better. All right, once we've graphed it, now we have to indicate all the values below. Okay, so we need to find the vertex, line of symmetry, x-intercepts, all those different things. So first, let's start with the vertex. Okay, so we know that vertex is right smack dab in the middle. And that point right there, well, that we know was the point that was in the middle of our data, the 2, 9. So that's 2, 9. So there's our vertex, 2, 9. And then the line of symmetry is that dashed line that we draw right down the middle. And remember, I want you to label this on the test. And the line of symmetry is x equals that number that this line crosses on the x-axis. And here it crosses at 2. X equals 2. And if you remember, I can get that number 2 by looking at the vertex, the x value. The x value in the vertex tells us the line of symmetry. Okay, so now for the x-intercepts. X-intercept, it's the points that cross the x-axis, so that's here and here. Okay. So for the first one, it crosses at -1 and 0. And the second one is at 5 and 0. And again, you can find those points here in the table. -1, 0, 5 and 0. It's where the y value is 0. So you can just look at the table for that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and write that down here. Zoom out a little bit. So -1 and 0. And 5 and 0. Okay, now the y-intercept. Not where it crosses the x-axis, but where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so that here it crosses over here at 0 and 5. So we'd indicate 0, 5. And again, the y-intercept in our table is the point where x is 0. Okay? And you'll see that up here in our table. Okay? So now the minimum and maximum, We'll do that in red. The minimum is the lowest point. But if you notice, this keeps on going down forever and ever and ever and ever. So there is no low point. There's no bottom. Okay, so that means there is no minimum. None. And you just write none. Now for the maximum, that means the top point. So the point at the top of the graph. And here, it stops here at the top. So that means there is a max. And it's right here on the top. And remember, the max is the top y value. And here, that y value is the same thing as the y value of the vertex, 9. So I'm going to draw that as a blue 9 because that same 9 I can get from just looking at the vertex. So the vertex tells us a lot of things. It tells us if that the x value, or the x value tells us the line of symmetry, and the y value tells us the maximum, or in some cases the minimum. Okay, now the last thing is the domain and range. Okay, so now domain, first we say, does it go left forever and ever? And yes, it does. Does it go right forever and ever? Yes, it does. So the domain is all real numbers. And the nice thing is that all parabolas are going to be all real numbers for the domain. Now the range. Remember, we start by saying, okay, does it go down forever and ever? Yes, it does. Does it go up forever and ever? No, it does not. It stops. And at what value? It stops at 9. So y for range, y is less than, because it's pointing down, less than or equal to the number it stops at, 9. So then we would write here, y is less than or equal to, and guess what? There's that 9 again. So we can also get the range from the vertex. But of course we have to know if it's pointing up or down. If it's pointing down, then that means it's going to be less than. If it's pointing up, that means it's going to be greater than. And we know that the graph points down without even looking at the graph itself by going back to our equation and seeing that here I have a negative in front. Remember, the negative makes the graph point down. Okay? Let's go to the last ones here. Okay, now remember, on the test, I'm only going to ask you to look for... Okay, so just remember, I only want you to find the vertex. Oops, sorry. Get you back here. Okay, the vertex and the direction. So not the shape. So the direction is, does it open up or does it open down? Okay. Now remember, to find first let's start with the direction. The direction comes from looking at the a value. Because remember, this is in vertex form. In vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The a tells us whether it opens up or down. If it's positive, it opens up. And a is 3, and it's positive 3, so it opens up. And then the vertex, remember, x is a liar, and we look at this number, and if x is a liar, then it's not, the x value is not -1, it's +1. And then the outside value k goes here as the y value, -75. And here in this next one, it's a little different because we don't have parentheses. So let's write it out with parentheses. If there was parentheses, it would be written like this: x plus 0. Because 0 doesn't change anything, so we can just add 0 to the inside. Squared, then minus 5. So then again, our a is 1/4, and it's positive, so this also points up. And then our vertex is 0 and -5. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck. If you guys are doing Brave School, it'll be after school on Thursday. Okay, bye.